Hi everybody, my name is Paul Kotz and I wrote this book called Something Happened Today, a collection of the unexpected. It's a book about seeing the good in life, even in times of adversity or difficult circumstances that arise in your own life. This book might give you a whole new perspective on looking at a way to address issues that we all face daily. It's considered to be a self-help motivational book, but for me, it was just a way to cathartically bring out some of the things that have happened in my own life and illustrate a lot of the big mistakes I've also made and how other people can learn from it too. So check it out. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble sites. And again, something happened today. And hope you have a great day today too. I was driving one morning and noticed I was short on gas. I thought before I filled my tank, I will pick up some breakfast at McDonald's. I decided to buy a McMuffin combo with a classic potato cake and coffee. As I proceeded to the drive-thru, I thought, hey, you only need a McMuffin. So I ordered the combo and another McMuffin thinking, you know what? I'm going to give this combo to the first person I see today who could use a breakfast. I found a gas station with my combo meal on the passenger seat. I had already devoured the one sandwich. I proceeded to pay at the pump, thinking I would give this breakfast to the gas attendant. I caught the attendant's eye from outside while filling the tank and showed the bag to him, which said, "I'm loving it." And he looked away. I entered and said, "Could you use a breakfast this morning? A McMuffin, potato cake, and coffee with cream?" He gave me kind of an astonished look, and I said, "I think I know you." He said, "Sure, I'll take this, thanks." It just so happened that this young man had worked in our yard with some landscaping a year earlier, and subsequently had to make a trip to a southern state to reunite with his estranged wife and children. We talked a bit as he recognized me from the past. We laughed about the past, and he proceeded to say his life was not going so well, and the relationship he hoped to unify had fallen apart. I reassured him and mentioned that it always stings when you break up and have to start anew. We exchanged numbers, and I hope to help find this guy some work he enjoys. As I left, tears came to his eyes, and I told him, never give up. It will get better, and you will heal. I discussed this with my wife Jan later on, and she said, when you decide to give, things just show up. There is power in just simple acts. When I was a kid, I thought back to the days as a boy in New York, where my mom encouraged me as a new kid to go out and play with some of the neighborhood kids. We lived in Amherst outside of Buffalo, and there were pickup games of football and baseball going on regularly. I'll never forget being the 7-year-old and feeling a little apprehensive to go out and meet kids I'd never seen before. With a little cajoling, I embarked on trying to join a baseball game already in progress. Also, my mom had her hands full with a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a newborn, and she needed a break. "Hey, do you want to play?" I was a shy and eager kid trying to fit in, but happy someone asked me, "That team's short a player, why don't you join them?" The team was batting, and it was my turn. This was kind of a slow-pitch version of baseball, but I managed to hit a single and stood kind of proud on first base. The same kid who invited me was playing at first and asked me, "See that kid at third base? Do you think you can take him?" I innocently said, "Take him where?" "No, kid, do you think you can take him?" And I said again, "What do you mean? Take him where?" He said, "No, no, no. Do you think you can take him in a fight?" My first time out with this group of guys, and I was presented with a difficult question. I said, I don't want to fight anybody. I just want to play ball." "Come on, don't you think you could?" Peer pressure gave in, and one of my biggest mistakes, of many I've made in my life, was to say, "I guess so." Big mistake. The guy yelled out to the third baseman, "Hey, Jimmy, this guy thinks he can take you." Before I knew it, I was getting beaten up. I was getting punched mercilessly, and afterward, with a bloody lip, lots of tears, I thought, why did I even venture to this playground? I came home in tears and with my pride shot, but I didn't make as big of a deal of it as maybe I should have. My mom had plenty of young kids to deal with besides me. Well, after my pummeling incident, an older kid in the neighborhood saw I had been injured and gave me some ideas on how to interact with other kids in the neighborhood, protect myself in a fight, and have a sense of humor. He also told me to use my words a bit more carefully. It let me once again realize that people may not tell you directly, but your words and actions truly can make a difference in people's lives. I'm also thankful for that older kid who instilled courage in me to go back to that ballpark with my head held high and take another swing. All this kind of translated for me later on when I became a teacher in high school. And each year I get a new homeroom. Here they get the news and have a safe sanctuary to do homework or talk, and the latter is usually the case. I had a young lady whose locker was continually getting stuck. To give you an idea, they have combination locks with 3 numbers. You could see tears welling up in her eyes, and she was rather shy, so I asked her what was wrong, and she said she could not get her locker open. So I left my homeroom temporarily unattended and said I would be back. We walked across the Skyway to the M building, and I asked her to tell me the combination and promised I wouldn't raid her locker unnecessarily unless she had some additional snacks. This didn't really work to make her smile. In fact, she wasn't smiling. I had to remind her I was just kidding. I would do my best to get it open. And then I said, "Okay, now you try it, Megan." She missed it. You have to be careful on that second number. Make one full turn and then be right on the tick mark. Try it again. She tried, and it opened. Her tears were drying up. I said, "Here's a Kleenex." "Thanks," she said. "Now try it a couple more times and I'll observe. No pressure. Just make sure you can do it. I know you can." Success. She could do it. It has to be uncomfortable as a freshman in high school when you can't get your locker open. It's bad enough that kids can be so mean and self-centered to the point of no return and sometimes sheer terror for some kids. "Let's go back to the homeroom," I said. We walked back and I proceeded to tell her how, when I was a freshman, someone learned my combination either looking over my shoulder or because I was maybe too naive to cover up my turns of the lock. Remember that at one time the lock was not a physical attachment to the locker. You had to bring your own. Anyway, I couldn't get into my locker. The young girl started to smile and then laugh. "So you think that's funny?" Back then it wasn't too funny for me, but I realized that she and I had been in the same boat. Feeling lost, feeling a little ashamed, and realizing that you may not have anyone to help you. I reflected back to the kid who did that to me, and I was clueless at the time for at least 3 days. It always seemed longer. I couldn't get into my locker. I had excuses for the teacher and had to go to see the head maintenance guy who told me they routinely cut locks off on Saturdays. This happened on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, so either way, I would have to make some accommodations. Otherwise, I would be way behind. Some teachers were nice and let me borrow a book. I was able to get some new textbooks and notebooks, but it was a hassle. Routinely throughout the week, Rascal, whose name has been changed to protect the innocent, or in fact the guilty, would shoot out, "Hey, Kotz, can't you get into your locker yet? You must be illiterate." Or, "Hey, go see the learning specialist." Anyway, I finally figured out who was responsible, but didn't want to rat him out because that wouldn't be cool or I'd be perceived as a crybaby. I wouldn't have used the word perceived at that time either. I don't think I knew what that meant. What I found out later was that he had learned my combo, taken it off, and put on another lock. I asked him once if he would give me the combination and my original lock back, but it never happened. But it did make me more resilient to those who bullied. I also had to be more careful. I resolved in this moment that I wouldn't want that to happen to another kid. Thus, the young lady and we returned back to the classroom, and the freshman girl was still smiling as I returned from my flashback to the present. And the bell went off, and homeroom was over.